Now, besides hailing the comprehensive control over Hong Kong and not ruling out the use of force for the reunification of Taiwan, here are some other key takeaways from Chinese President Xi Jinping's speech to the 20th Communist Party Congress. Xi began his speech by listing the achievements of the Communist Party in the last 5 years, while listing poverty alleviation, national defense and diplomacy as achievements, along with fight against COVID and Hong Kong. Xi described the 5 years since the last party congress as extremely uncommon and abnormal. He further urged his people to be prepared for danger on the horizon and to stand ready for major tests to come their way. Elaborating on the fight against COVID-19, Xi defended the zero-COVID policy, while many in the country were looking for an indication that China's strict COVID restrictions might be eased. Xi hailed the same, saying that the policy put the people and their lives first and achieved significant positive results. However, there was no acknowledgement of the social and economic pain being caused by the policy. The Chinese president nonetheless underlined the need to further improve the country's healthcare infrastructure. On China's foreign policy and security, Xi reiterated that Beijing opposes Cold War mentality in global politics. He added that China resolutely opposes all forms of hegemony and power politics. While hailing China's stature as a major global trading partner, Xi declared that it would not engage in expansionism. Now, acknowledging the drastic changes in the international landscape, Xi said China has maintained firm strategic resolve and shown a fighting spirit. Moving on to China's economy and development, the president exhausted the country to focus on high-quality development and expand domestic demand to advance the Chinese economy. The Chinese economy has been forecast to grow by only around 3% this year. The dent in economic growth was laid by the strict zero-COVID policy, weak consumer confidence and lower investment. In his speech, the Chinese president also highlighted China's achievements in poverty alleviation. Building a moderately prosperous society in all respects was one of the party's 2 centenary goals. Xi declared that the goal was achieved last year and pressed now to improve the system of income distribution. Xi vowed to promote equality of opportunity, increase the income of low-income earners, and expand the size of middle-income group. Xi elevated the Common Prosperity slogan last year amid crackdowns on big tech and the real estate sector. This drew unease from investors who saw heavy losses from Beijing's sudden policy shifts. Finally, the Chinese president touched upon China's green goals. He pledged to work prudently towards the goals of reaching peak carbon emissions and carbon neutrality, which Beijing aims to achieve within 4 decades. Xi also promised to use coal in a cleaner and more efficient way. This stems from the fact that more than any other Chinese leader, Xi has sought to make the environment part of his lasting legacy. While the Chinese president touched upon multiple issues, there were some crucial ones that found no mention in his speech. This includes the prospects of a sluggish economic growth, soaring youth unemployment, and the property sector crisis. Analysts say the long speech was heavy on standard party rhetoric and short on actual solutions to China's problems. Dr. Antoine Bondas is a political analyst. He is still with us on WION World is One. Thank you very much for staying on, Doctor. The president did not waver on zero COVID. The policy is said to have caused, immense social and economic pain. What's Xi's real reason for sticking to this policy?
I think there are 2 main reasons. The first one is a sanitary one. If the Chinese government lets, I would say, the COVID virus go, it would kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in China, because the level of vaccination is lower than in many other countries, especially among the most vulnerable people. I mean, the older people that are above 65 years old. So it would have a huge cost in terms of sanitary aspect. And the second one, of course, is a political reason, and that's for sure the most important reason. In March 2020, the Communist Party of China and Xi Jinping affirmed that they had defeated the virus, that the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government was superior because more effective than the other model of governance. And the objective is clear on the Chinese side, is to discredit democracies, to discredit liberal democracies abroad, be it in Europe, be it in Asia, be it in North America, and to affirm and to convince the Chinese population that the Communist Party of China is more effective, and then that there is no alternative. And I think that these two main reasons explain why the Chinese government is now stuck, the party is stuck with that zero COVID policy, with no sign at all, and you reminded us of any change in the coming month.
Doctor, finally, I mentioned this in my report. Many analysts say the 2-hour speech was short on actual solutions to China's problems. Could we be right to say China is heading to an economic uncertainty that is not seen in the country for decades under Xi Jinping's leadership?
So for sure, it was kind of a short speech, quite unexpected, but the report to the Congress will be much longer. We are just waiting for it to be published. So the actual economic situation is for sure much more tricky and complicated than 10 years ago. The real estate bubble, the high unemployment rate among the young educated people in the main cities of China. Yet the economy is still going quite well compared to foreign economies. And to be clear, even though economic development is now much more complicated to sustain than 10 or 15 years ago, it's not the only way that the party can legitimate itself. The key question for the party is and has always been political security and to maintain the legitimacy of the party. Economic development has been one of that leverage for many, many years, and it's still a leverage, but less and less. So the party will be more nationalist, will be more inward-looking to make sure that the party remains legitimate and that there is no opposition, no criticism within the society.
We'll have to end this discussion there. I've been talking to a political analyst, Dr. Antoine Bondas. Thank you very much for giving us time.
Thank you for having me.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.